This is Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and this podcast series is called Spiritual Immersion. Spiritual Immersion, taking the plunge. And the intention of these podcasts is to encourage you to be curious about who you are as a spiritual being having a human experience, and as a human being having a spiritual experience. We're both at the same time. And this could be really challenging to a lot of people, especially when we kind of maybe get deeper into things, feel like we're slipping and sliding into something we're not quite ready for. So this series is the intention of this series is to really encourage you to be with what is, and to explore and get the support you need to move through this as effortlessly as possible. I had been a therapist working in recovery for about 8 years. I began my PhD in transpersonal psychology and focused on spiritual guidance. And then I found coaching, life coaching, which if you emphasize life coaching, you see that there's elements and aspects of life that we are not prepared for or capable of even knowing until we're in it enough to go, wait, what's that? What is that? And that's especially true in terms of when we're so immersed in our ego self and we find that we're not having a fulfilling life, that maybe there's some meaning that's missing, or it brings about a crisis of faith, or we're in a spiritual relationship or a religious relationship, or relationship with a religion that isn't working for us. So we begin to question reality. We begin to question beliefs and interpretations. We begin to question what's really true and what's really true for each of us individually. And part of that is coming to really that saying, to thine own self be true, is in essence what we come to. So this particular podcast today is titled Reorienting Your Trajectory, in a sense that most of us are connected to and immersed in consensus reality, consensus view of reality. This is what it is. And this is what you're supposed to do, and this is how you're supposed to do it, and listening to YouTube and, how-tos and all of that will tell you primarily how to live within consensus reality. When we start to shift and immerse ourselves in the exploration of who we are as spiritual beings, we begin to go, wait a second, that's not what I've been taught my whole life. How do I start looking at something that is so off the beaten track, if you will, the road less traveled, the thought less thought? How do I do that? So that primarily is part of the intention of this whole series of podcasts. But today what I want to talk about is that part that says, okay, I want to get this over with. Like, what do I need to do? What do I need to learn? Just tell me and I'll do it, and then I'll get on my way with the rest of my life. And the point of this exercise as part of our spiritual immersion is to realize that we are sometimes not in control of how long something takes, or what space is required for us to take it. And so this particular podcast, the intention is to empower you to be with one of the most challenging aspects of a spiritual journey, which is it takes the time it takes. So most of us, like I said, are on the path of the consensus view of reality, which is fear-based. And spiritual immersion practices require us to shift our orientation, turning our ship, if you will, in the trajectory of our heart and our heart's desire, which is essence-based truth, the quality of being in the essence of ourselves. And on this path, you get to experience joyousness from your heart and in this essence-based, as opposed to feeling fear. So, however, it takes the time it takes to learn to maneuver yourself in the waters that you're sailing in, if you will. The reason I'm using metaphors about the water and sailing is about 25 years ago, I taught sailing on the San Francisco Bay. And a requirement was that I needed to get a captain's license through the Coast Guard. And I had to take courses, and I had to pass those courses. And part of the course that was fascinating but irrelevant to me being a captain on a little tiny 24-foot boat versus larger boats. But what I had to learn was how to calculate the distance it took for a freighter or a tanker or an ocean liner to slow down and navigate so that they're turning when they need to turn at the radius they need to turn. Now, the reason I bring this up is it didn't occur to me because I'm so used to small boats and you just kind of slowly move in the direction you want to, or if you're in a speedboat, you just turn the wheel and you've turned. But with these bigger boats, it takes a lot more preparation, it takes more calculation, it takes more slowing down so that that turn can be made. And a lot of those calculations are based on what's the weight of the boat, but also what's the weight of the cargo, the baggage it's carrying. So when most of us, coming back to spiritual immersion, when most of us are going forward in our lives and say, okay, I want to take a turn and I want to become more spiritual and I want to take on this practice, we go, wait, like we're going so fast in a sense, and we want it so fast, and we've got the baggage we've got. We don't even take into consideration all of that when we want to make a turn in our life and have a different trajectory, again, from, let's say, fear-based or consensus-based to something that's more personal and real. So quite often we have to slow ourselves down in order to really see and calculate what's happening with me. Why is this taking longer? Why am I even going through this? What's the point? Why isn't this easy? And so the reason it's not easy is because we carry lifetimes of that's Gracie barking. She does that on occasion. We carry lifetime of baggage. We carry ancestral patternings. Our ancestors have had experience that they've had, traumas or whatever those are, and we actually carry those energies and those those experiences within our genetics, which is, I find, very fascinating but true. We've also been trained in our neural pathways to experience what we experience and see the world the way we see it and interpret it. Our thinking and our assessments and our interpretations are based on neural pathways that we've created. And when we begin to say, no, I'm going to create a new pathway, I'm going to train myself to do something differently, it takes time to train new neural pathways to come in and be consistent and sustainable. We also carry a lot of emotions from our own past lives, our parallel lives, some people will say, and those are in those emotions are energies in motion. Those energies are within every single cell of our being, and so the cellular memory of all of that, mostly traumatic, keeps us with our heels dug in and saying, no, that's too scary. No, that's too scary. No, that's too scary. And so that in itself will slow us down so that we can't move faster. And if we try to move faster, sometimes we get into a process which can be too big, too scary, and we're out of our comfort zone. So again, I'm going to come back. I'm going to put a pause on that just to say again that I make a distinction between spiritual emergency, and spiritual immersion, which is what this is about. For me, spiritual emergence is sometimes we're in situations and circumstances and we're in processes that are put us, we're out of our comfort zone. We're out of our control. And things are happening and we don't know how to be with that. So for instance, Kundalini openings and awakenings, or other experiences that happen that we don't have control over. And so we need a lot more support, is my experience, to help us through that, empower us through those experiences. I've just mentioned a couple. We'll talk about that more later in the series. But there are times when we are more out of our depths, out of our comfort zone than we want to be. And so we want to make sure that we have some support to take care of ourselves in that. I'm providing some links to you for you to check out if you need to get some support. There's the International Spiritual Immersion Network, which you can Google. And a very good friend of mine, Elizabeth Sabet, Sabet, is highly trained and phenomenal at working with people who've had spiritual or are in spiritual emergences and emergencies. So those are two connections that you can make. So it takes the time it takes. And if you wish to go faster, then you start to employ modalities and processes that can help you speed up. Meditation can help you speed up. Breath work can help you speed up. Deep tissue work, massage can help you speed up. Energy clearing can help you. Energy work, music, sound therapy, light therapy, lots of things like that can help you speed things up. Also, becoming more conscious and committed and devoted to everyday practices also helps you speed up. So what this means is looking at where are you potentially noticing when you're thinking negativity. Now, statistics says that 80% of the time we're thinking negative thoughts. Now, as a person who's wanting to be much more positive and have a life of joy, I want to choose positive. So I have to be aware of my negative thoughts. I have to be aware of stopping my negative thoughts when I can, and begin to employ the practice of thinking positive thoughts. So I've heard, the weather forecast today is cloudy and rainy, and it's like, okay, can get depressed and, disappointed it's not going to be sunny. But the fact of the matter is, if I look outside, it's a beautiful day. It's sunny out, sun's out. I can actually feel joyous rather than feeling disappointed because the weather forecast says it's going to be, a rainy day. So anyway, those are a couple of things. This is much longer information than I thought I was going to cover in this one podcast, but I'm going to divide them up. And so there'll be a second podcast to follow this in terms of the time it takes to be in a spiritual immersion process. So that's it for now. I will be back with you soon. Bye-bye.